the Buffalo Sabres on a 12-game losing streak. Unbelievable with the amount of talent that's on the roster. Ralph Krueger finally gets the axe. How could we not have seen this coming? You look at Ralph Krueger's career, okay? He was a 1-year head coach for the Edmonton Oilers. He got that gig after being the Swiss men's team national team head coach years ago. He's a big international hockey guy, comes in, gets a gig with the Oilers, flames out after a year, kind of disappears from the scene for a while. Why is that, you say? Gumpy, you may know this. Oh, he becomes a front office guy for Southampton. Is that correct? The EPL?
The Southampton Saints? Good squad. Great squad.
He jumps over to the soccer world. This is Ted Lasso. Everyone loved Ted Lasso. It was a great show, right? You know why that worked? Because it was fiction, because it wasn't real life. You can't just jump into the soccer world for 6 years, then jump back into the NHL and be a head coach for the Buffalo Sabres and expect it to work. There's obviously a lack of direction. Kevin Adams, first-year GM, they bring over Ralph Krueger, who was just managing soccer for 6 years, comes back, and no wonder they fell flat on their face. I can't believe we didn't see this sooner, and we weren't. I know there were some jokes made when Krueger jumped back into the league, but how did we not just lambaste them? How did we not just put the screws to them? Be like, what are they doing in Buffalo?
I think you just had to look at it like exactly what you said. He took over a team with a ton of talent. There's no way he can screw this thing up. No way.
No way. You got Jack Eichel. You bring in Eric Stahl. You sign Taylor Hall to the 1-year deal. Oh, my God. Everything's great. You sign Jeff Skinner to the big deal. Things are looking good. Buffalo.
Hey, just drawing things up in the snow out there. Just put them out there on the ice. Let's go.
The Bills are good again. What do we got? Josh Allen. Everything's great in Buffalo. Let's bring in this soccer guy. He'll be our head coach. Everything will be perfect.
Well, unfortunately, with all the signings and such, it just pulled the wool over everybody's eyes. No one paid attention to the coach.
And let's be honest, the coach is far from the only problem. But somebody has to pay the price, right? And we always say it, you can't fire the players. It's very hard to trade with what's going on with the COVID restrictions and everything right now. And when you got a GM who's basically inexperienced as Kevin Adams is, his first real gig in the front office as running the show as a GM, he's got no one to lean on. We talked to Aaron Ward last week about potentially bringing in someone like Jimmy Rutherford, who the Penguins let go. Was a GM in Carolina when Adams played there. You know, that's a familiar voice. These guys been through the battles. He could come in there and lend a helping hand and be a voice of reason as a special assistant to the GM or president of hockey ops, something like that. Buffalo, it just seems like they're just treading water and willing to just wait out this dumpster fire until the end of the season. They axed the coach. Now what's next? You're not going to fire Adams because he just got there. So do you start looking to move some of these guys out the door? Is it time to ship some of the players out and try and get some new blood in there? It seems like they got a lot of similar players, a lot of skill players. Is it time to try and get a different type of player in the Sabres locker room?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, they need to change a lot. And where do you start? I don't know. You don't know. I don't think any of us know, right? But whatever it wasn't working. Now you fire a coach, and could you get the same result that Sutter's kind of given his team? It's like, I don't know. Is somebody going to – did you just need one little thing, right, just to kind of jumpstart them? I doubt it. But, you had to start somewhere, and – it'd be different if they just had like a bunch of old heads that they made these moves. But Taylor Hall's a young star, or so we thought, right? And so Jack
MVP,
Eichel, like we all said, was a generational talent. They got players, so something's got to get this thing jump started. I don't know where to start. Apparently, they don't know either. But the head coach was the first one to get it.
I think the easy thing is you start, you're bottom feeding right now. You're a seller. The deadline's coming up. You get Eric Stahl out the door and you send him somewhere where he can go chase another ring and try and get some more picks in return. I know like you're sick of being in the rebuilding mode, but you got to let these guys go, these older guys, and bring in some more youth. But then you also need to find the right mix of veterans because you thought you were getting that with Eric Stahl, but obviously it hasn't worked out. You got to find the right mix of veterans to lead them and to change that culture because there's going to be that continuous. You see it in the NFL too, AQ. You've experienced it, that continuous cycle of losing and how that just breeds more losing atmosphere and environment around the team. It's like a bad cloud hanging around the team. You got to switch it up somehow. You fire the coach now. You're not going to do it with the GM. He's new. You got to look at the players next. So I think Stahl's going to be on his way out the door. Taylor Hall signed the 1-year deal, probably expecting a situation similar to this, like, hey, I can make a move at the deadline, bounce back in free agency this next offseason. So you look at those two guys; those are the easy ones to make. Then we've talked at length in the past about, do you get rid of Jack Eichel, and what do you do there? Luckily for them, unluckily for him, he has the injury. He's sidelined for a while. That's something we've talked about that company. You probably revisit that in the offseason, right? That's a big-time decision to make. The other ones are easy. Hall and Stahl, send them out, no problem. Eichel, you want to sit down in the offseason. You want to figure out who your coach is going to be, and then you make that kind of decision.
You can't just keep rebooting. That's the issue, right?
No.
That's literally what they just did. Like, this season was supposed to be, okay, here we go. Now we got guys. Let's play. So you can't – I don't know what you do. You're stuck.
You need veteran leadership in the organizational level. Like we keep going. Kevin Adams is the first-year GM here. You got to bring in somebody. If you want to coach, this is a situation where you could look at like a Bruce Boudreau, someone who's been around with a ton of different teams and a ton of different players and experience what's going on there. Now, he's never rebuilt the team per se from the ground up, but he's been around enough to know what it takes. Then you look at you bring in another voice, maybe a president of hockey ops, someone like an established former GM or a former team president somewhere to kind of lend an ear to Kevin Adams, someone else to bounce off of, and see what's going on. Because the Pagulas, it's clear they have money. They're willing to throw money at problems, but they've got a lot of other situations going on. They're working with the Bills. They got a big time situation with the football team going on. So I don't think all their attention is diverted to the Sabres. I think the Sabres could use a jolt of strong leadership at the organizational level to kind of get them back on track. And then you make a couple trades. You get a couple draft picks. You can swing this thing around fairly quickly. If you're willing to roll with the core. You have some good players, Rasmus Ristolainen, Rasmus Dahlin on defense. Like, there's some good guys there. There's some pieces. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. It's magnified, obviously, by a 12-game losing streak, which is just as ugly as it can get. But I think it's salvageable. I don't think you need to completely burn it down and rebuild it again.